doesn't really matter. In social distancing, I keep Aaron, Joe, and on the same screen. Well, I'll show you what it looks like right now. I would say for a while. Yes, sir. I can put all that on the floor.
That was a big thing.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bigger than you want to be, I'm sure. Just that. I mean, anybody else?
It makes a lot of sense. So I think, it's all good. You know, I can just think it's like whatever. Really? But at least it obviously it's nice. I don't do all of that. So I Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, again, First time I got to do that. Good afternoon, and hello to our people online. Live stream's up.
Live stream is up.
Awesome. Welcome to Libertarian National Committee. My name is Joe Bishop, and I have the honor. The sound in here is terrible, and especially for people listening. So we're gonna have people bringing mics around. So we should read them. I have the privilege of serving as the 20th chair of the Libertarian National Committee, and joining me on our socially distanced dais here is our Vice Chair Ken Woolman, our Treasurer Tim Hagan, our Secretary Karen Ann Harless, and 13 additional voting members and 8 alternates for a total of 25 of us. Well, we'll start with an opportunity for public comment. If any member of the gallery wishes to address the committee. Yes, sir. You want to wait for the microphone and then give your name and state it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Jelenic. I'm one of the executive committee for the Libertarian Party of Minnesota, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for all your being here. I am also a resident of Brooksville, Minnesota, and I appreciate the work you guys all did on the founder campaign last night. I unfortunately was not able to make it out to join you. Today's my daughter's second birthday, so my in-laws are grabbing me. But I just want to make sure to say thank you guys for all your hard work, and I'll continue to be working on the founder campaign as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last chance till tomorrow afternoon.
Usually not that shy.
Going once, going twice. All right, I'm closing public comment. Thank you all. Thank you to all of our members of the gallery who are paying even less than the LNC. Next item will be the attendance roll call. Madam Secretary.
That was logged in. Just one second. Yeah, I'm logged in. Oh, here we go. Okay, Mr. Bishop Henchman.
Here.
Mr. Woolman.
Here.
Mr. Hagan.
Here.
I'm here, Ms. Epke.
Here.
Mr. Longstrap. Okay. Mr. Ratsa.
Here.
Ms. Sarwar. Here. Mr. Smith.
Here.
Ms. Bilyeu. Here. Mr. Coburn.
Here.
Mr. Hewitt.
Here.
Ms. Hogarth. Here. Mr. Nana.
Here.
Mr. Nikela.
Here.
Mr. Phillips.
Here.
From what I understand, Mr. Wentz will be absent. Ms. Adams.
Here.
and Mr. Bowen has said he'd be absent. Mr. Buckman?
Present.
Mr. Piero?
Present.
Mr. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Lucchini?
Here.
Mr. Sexton?
Here.
Mr. Valente?
Here.
And that is everyone. We have Mr. Longstreth who stepped down the hall. Mr. Went is absent, not abstinent. Well, I don't know. And Mr. Bowen is absent. And the staff who are here, Mr. Fishman is,
Myself, Deputy Director of Development, Art Cisco, Campaigns Coordinator, Apollo Frizzell, Candidate Recruitment Specialist, Sarah Schultz. Have I forgotten who's other staff?
We got some people virtually.
Yeah, we have some people virtually and Andy Burns.
I just like to have it. Thank you.
Mr. Went, by email, has asked for a ruling, which I'm going to issue. He asked whether his absence triggers the provision of Article 7, Section 6, which reads that a national committee member who fails to attend 2 consecutive regular sessions is vacated their post. My ruling is it has not been triggered, that this is our first regular meeting and that our electronic meetings are special meetings. So therefore, that provision is not applied to this situation and he remains the Region 1 representative. Does anyone wish to object to that? Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. I distributed a draft proposed agenda and welcome suggestions or changes to it. Madam Secretary.
I believe I emailed about the population of the convention voting process.
Yes. The secretary requested that be added to the agenda. I have not added to the agenda because we've only gotten 20 applicants so far, and it's my understanding, I don't think you guys even got the application materials until sometime overnight. So my preference is that we defer that to our next electronic meeting, but of course it's up to the committee to decide that. Actually, I do have one item before we do that. Madam Secretary.
I would concur, and since I was the one who requested to add, and I will get with Mr. Fishman to send out another solicitation.
That'd be great, thank you. And let your friends know, we're populating this committee. Mr. Redpath, who is the chair of our Ballot Access Committee, is available until 11 a.m. this morning Eastern, Central, but not after that. So I would request that we put his report after the secretary's report and before the executive director's report. So I'll move that. No objection. Any objection? Mr. Vice Chair.
So I just want to make sure you're aware. On the agenda, you have the CRM presentation for tomorrow, and I just want to make sure you're aware that Andy Burns is not available tomorrow. It's a family obligation. It's not, it's up to you. But yeah, if you want him here for that. You want to do it right after ballot? Whenever. I'm easy. So I am moving to have the CRM presentation immediately after the ballot access. Is there any?
Once around the agenda changes, Mr. Fisher.
I just want to notify the staff who are online that as we move back, you guys need to walk away for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. We anticipate moving back that much.
Yeah. So, yeah, what Mr. Christian said, when he was not using microphone, was that we'll move everything else back a little bit as we add to the agenda. Other, none? All right, Ms. Eddie.
I think we put out the agenda as amended.
Ms. Eddie moves to adopt the agenda as amended. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Phillips. Is there any objection? Seeing none, it is adopted. Next item is reports of potential conflicts of interest. Ms. Reynolds.
Okay, I had put that in the OneNote and updated it with everything that was told to me. So if there was any further, if you could just take a look at it in the OneNote and let me know.
Any questions on that? Saying none, we'll zoom on. Next is me. Oh, and housekeeping, there's a Wi-Fi password on the screen.
Move that out of there, Joe.
Is there a?
Yes.
How's everyone doing? Start with the good news. I always love good news. We're in the black to the tune of about $108,000, which if you were here last term or were watching last term is a pretty incredible accomplishment. And yes, thank you to everybody who's helped make that turnaround possible. And certainly a credit to the last LNC and hard decisions that were made to get us to that point. I do want to observe that we are at kind of the peak of the cycle right now. So if you look at the wonderful revenue trend line, think about it as pumpkin sales in October, not necessarily a trend line that will continue indefinitely, and keep that in mind as we decide our spending priorities. Second piece of good news is lawsuits. We are reluctant litigators. I think libertarians, we view lawsuits as distractions and necessary evils, and as a lawyer, I certainly agree. When we go to court, though, we bring it. And if you haven't heard about the New Hampshire case, the New Mexico case, and the Texas case, I hope you will hear those stories told, and not during the meeting, hopefully over drinks and dinner, because they are incredible accomplishments. And I know we've got people here in the room who've been actively involved in all of this, and thank you for fighting hard against partisan duplicity and unfairness. And we took them on and we beat them. Speaking of partisan duplicity and unfairness, our ballot access drive. So, as everybody in this room knows, but not everybody in the country knows, Democrats and Republicans automatically put themselves on the ballot, but everyone else must go out and gather signatures, which this year in pandemic conditions is especially onerous. So, for example, Kanye West is running for president of the United States, and in order for him to be on all 50 state ballots, he must gather an excess of 700,000 signatures and pay a whole bunch of filing fees and a whole bunch of unnecessary paperwork, arbitrary deadlines, and go in front of stacked approval bodies. Despite his universal name recognition and endless financial resources, he will fall far short of that goal, probably not on more than 20 state ballots. Whatever you think of Mr. West, that he is being systematically kept off the ballot is wrong, and a sign of how onerous these obstacles are. By contrast, we are presently certified on the ballot in 49 states, plus the District of Columbia, plus Guam, with number 50 a few days away. Now, of course, we don't have universal name recognition and endless financial resources, but what we do have are dedicated people willing to go out and work hard and knock on doors and collect signatures and run for office, and that's how we're able to do what Kanye West is not able to do with tens of millions of dollars, and what Democrats and Republicans have automatically done. One of the heroes of our ballot access drive this year is in the room right now, and that's Christopher Thrasher, who I have the honor of And I had the honor of making Chris our inaugural activist of the month in September of 2020. The day 3, I think, of my being chair, I get a call from Chris, and he said he's looking at the main information, and he doesn't like how it's going, and he thinks it's a problem. And he got in his car, at the time was in Omaha, Nebraska, and drove to Maine to help out firsthand on the ground. And Maine has some special rules where they collect the signatures, and then take them to the local towns to get them verified, and then recollect them and then bring them to the state. And Maine has about 400 little towns, and although it may look like a compact state on the map, the roads are a little squiggly, and it takes a lot of time to get across the state. So we needed to throw together an effort to get an enormous number of signatures in a handful of days and transport them across the state of Maine all over the place. A seemingly impossible task, but we got it done. And we got it done facing rain on election day when we were trying to get our most number of signatures. Petition drives for competing candidates going $4 a petition, $5 a petition, $8 a petition. Stuff that we can't match financially, but we can match with boots on the ground. We deployed our paid staff. We deployed people from neighboring states who volunteered to help out. Pretty sure Chris didn't sleep for about 2 weeks. And we got lawsuits ready because we were ready to sue if we fell short there. And in the end, we needed 4,000 valid signatures, and the state certified us with 4,007, which I understand is our narrowest successful petition drive that we've done in our party's history. Not exactly the honorific that I was looking for, but at least we were on the right side of that. And, that's just one example and one story of, I could stand up here and tell 20 other stories of the ballot access drives that were successful this year in multiple states. And Chris gets the beauty of being the personification of the hard work of literally thousands of people across the country to make this happen. And my thanks to you all. Raise your hand if you're new on the LNC this year. Yeah, raise your hand. Welcome. And then raise your hand if you're returning. Importantly, welcome back. A few observations. This is a committee of 25 people, which every book on board structure and efficient decision making and effective committees will tell you is too much and unwilling to work. The expectation, the prediction, is that we will devolve into a squabbling factional mess and accomplish nothing. And if you don't think that's the expectation of us, you didn't talk to enough voters who's elected behind you. We can meet those expectations. So how? We've got a couple of suggestions. Three suggestions. One, we all represent constituencies, and we have to be true to them, certainly. But we also all represent the party. The vote of every representative at this table, up to and including the chair, has equal weight. If all everyone does is parochially represent their own piece of the party, we will be less than the sum of the parts. The key criticism I've heard of the LNC over and over again is that instead of prioritizing and focusing, we spread our limited staff and financial resources across 20, 30, 40 priorities in 50 states, and thereby accomplish nothing in the end. I hope we can find the right balance between those extremes, and I hope you'll be part of helping us do that. Two, JFK famously said in his inaugural address, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." Perhaps the most anti-libertarian thing the president has ever said about the government, but good advice when it comes to the internal structure of our party. There are complainers out there. If you're returning, you can probably list names of who they are. And if you're new, you'll learn them soon enough. They send angry emails, they post Facebook denunciations, they demand witch hunts and attention and drama. They don't door knock, they don't phone in, they don't fill out FEC forms, they don't bring solutions, they complain. They are few, but they try to be loud. Help me help them be constructive, and help us avoid falling into the trap they want us to fall into. The vast majority of Libertarian Party members, activists, donors, the vast majority of libertarians want this committee to be a committee of action, not info. The voices on the last committee who were most associated with resisting change and being closed to new ideas lost re-election. Not everyone here agrees on everything, far from it, and we shouldn't. But let's be forward-looking, constructive, and systematic. And the inverse is also true. If you work like hell for the parties, if you're here for us, if you do door knock, if you do donate, if you do all that stuff, I will listen intently to whatever your complaint is. Happy. And interestingly, I've found the harder someone works, the more constructive their advice and suggestions and feedback tends to be. Number 3, don't be assholes. Professor Robert Sutton, author of the No Asshole book, very good book, documents the incredible damage done to morale and productivity when behaviors such as insults, threats, sarcasm, flaming, humiliation, shaming, interruption, backbiting, flaring, and snubbing, he's got a chapter on every one of those, are condoned and not called. We are all temporary assholes now and then, myself included, but we must all resist the temptation to be permanent assholes. Bullying and nasty and not being respectful of each other's perspectives, contributions, and time. When you see bad behavior, and you will, talk to the person privately. When you are talked to privately, have an open mind and listen. Resist the urge to overreact, to rush to social media to denounce everything, and to reject any solution other than the one thing you want to do. For us to move forward, we must find a consensus of 25 people. It's not impossible. And returning LNC members know this because we have much to celebrate from the last term. We went from a 6-digit deficit to a 6-digit surplus. We prioritized and built a fundraising team for the first time in the party's history. We will achieve 50 state ballot access. And we're positioned to win elections this November. The delegates chose us to be in this room, to make the hard decisions, and to work together. So let's do it. This is the hardest part of my talk because I talk about myself. And this will make campaigning for the chair's position so difficult for me because I love praising other people and talking about the great work that other people are doing and all that. That comes very natural. When I have to kind of step up and blow about myself, it makes me nervous. And actually, Aaron Adams, who I was kind of musing about that fact about that, I don't know why I'm nervous on some of these things, and she just cut right to it. She was like, "You're nervous when you talk about yourself." So if you ever need a reality check, Ms. Adams will oblige. That's a service. So I'm the 20th chair of the Libertarian National Committee and the first openly gay chair of the National Committee. And incidentally, if you haven't noticed, this committee is now majority LGBT and female. And in fact, I'm the first openly gay chair of any American political party. Someone decided they didn't want to be in the party as an openly gay chair. Went on Facebook to my wedding photos, found one, and shared it with a grumpy message in hopes of humiliating me and rallying people behind me. The Libertarian Party unanimously, and disagree with me if you disagree with that assessment, unanimously rallied against that message and what that person did. We come together when it matters. I wish I could say that was the only hateful or anti-gay message that I've gotten since becoming chair. But, it's a handful. And tiny. For a party with a reputation, an undeserved reputation for being not caring, we are so caring. speech now, when I go and speak to state parties, it's listing all of the amazing things that libertarians do for each other. And in fact, the day before that nasty message went out, I got 2 others. From 2 different people, but very similar sentiments. Closeted young gay men in what we call red states in this country, who just wanted to let me know that they found my election to be inspiring personally to them. That for whatever reason, what they thought that was beyond the realm of possibility, that a person can be openly gay and stand on stage and win jury approval from a political party. I certainly felt undeserving of that at that point in my church. The only real official business I had done was look at voting spreadsheets with the secretary, but it reminded me that people are watching and being inspired. And so I remind all of you, people are watching and being inspired. So with that, I'll stand on my written report, and I'm certainly happy to take any questions. All right. No, Secretary.
It's not a question, but just in reference to what you had said about what that very unkind person did. We were very proud to defend you. That was really, really wrong. And I apologize that I know it wasn't me that did it, but that should never have happened to you in this party. And I am embarrassed for the party for that. I'm proud of what
He was a minority of one, the smallest.
Yes, but I'm just really, really sorry that happened.
I appreciate it. Mr. Hill, you're with the All right, well, I'll conclude my report. Mr. Vice Chair.
Hello, for those that don't know me, I'm Ken Molman. I'm the newly elected vice chair. And my report's pretty simplistic. So greetings to all members, the fellow LNC members, staff. Since taking office after the Orlando portion of the convention, I've been mostly focused on getting my bearings to rearrange my life around this new role. A lot of that's been transferring some of the back end things that I've done for years to other people. And I thank those that have been helping me shed some of those responsibilities and taking them on. Certainly, people helping is a good thing, and I appreciate that. Per the policy manual, I represent the otherwise unrepresented states of Idaho and Mississippi on the LNC. And I've spoken with Mississippi. They have a special election for State House coming up that's really exciting. They've got people from multiple states, and they're doing a real good regional thing, despite not being in a region, working with their neighbors. And they're pretty excited about that. And that's a special election, I believe, in September, if I remember correctly. So this month, just a couple weeks, I think that's it. So I unfortunately have not spoken with Idaho at this time. I've been given contact info. I'm going to reach out again, try to reach them, talk to them. Certainly, they have the right to do whatever they want to do. But I hope that they will see that this committee is interested in seeing them succeed, and if nothing else, we'd just like to say hi once in a while. My primary focus has been, and for the likely future will continue to be growing local affiliates. To that end, I've dug back into the CRM project. We're going to have a presentation on that here shortly. Other things that I've done, I went to the Ohio convention, which happened after our national convention, and I was a speaker there, and it's always good to talk to other people in other states. I've also spoken with several different candidates for office around the country, and the ones running for local office specifically, I generally have some tips and tactics that have worked for my local elections, things I can pass along. The without getting too deep into that, I hope the best for them. I watch them on Facebook. I see them out working. It inspires me when I see candidates out actually working, knocking doors, kind of pavement, doing events. It's very inspiring. It's why we're here. I am extremely excited for this term. As Joe outlined, and those who have seen his plan, I think we're in a position where we're going to modernize the parking. We're going to not be stuck on, we've always done it this way, and we're going to look for the best way to do things. And I'm very excited about that. I'm an IT person. I watch companies go through revolutions internally, and it leaps forward in making their operations more efficient. And I think that's where we're headed. And I'm very excited about that because we get more efficient and we save money, which is, who can say no to that? So that's kind of my quick report. Are there any questions?
Ms. Roach, my question is to comment. I have a brand new state party chair and Jennifer Imhoff. She's very much looking forward to growing with that state party and also very much looking forward to your work.
Yes, I actually just received her email address, I think yesterday or the day before, and obviously traveling here, I've been able to reach out. So I look forward to that. Anything else? You want time back to the body, we can get on with it. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Mr. Hagan.
Thanks. Yesterday, emailed out the August end of month financial reports, and like Mr. Bishop Hinchman mentioned, we have a reserve which is calculated from the unrestricted cash minus the accounts payables to get an idea of where we're at. Basically, say if all fundraising had to stop, if we could still pay off our bills. And our current reserve is at $183,577. Like mentioned, compared to, say, December of 2018, we've gone up almost 300,000 because it was negative, about the same amount. If you go to, you're following along page 5 of the financial reports, see how we're doing compared, has a budget in there, see how we're doing compared to the budget. The revenues are below budget, but a lot of that is due to the conventions. That's a lot less attendance. The convention revenues and expenses were a lot lower than what we budgeted for. And if you take the convention revenues that came from stuff where we had to give things to the attendees, for example, the package purchases, the tables, the suites, that money ended up covering the cost of the convention, plus I think about 24,000. Ms. Ryan will have some more numbers on that. So convention, and on top of that, we had theme contests, the gala, which brought in about 24,000. So the convention was successful, very successful financially. And actually, the convention numbers were in the previous July end of month reports. And one thing I'd done, one of my friends had posted about the unclaimed properties that each state gets when they can't find who owns some of the property. So I went searching for myself, and Nevada had a link to a website, missingmoney.com, and it said, put your name or business name. Unfortunately, I didn't find any money for myself, but did find some for my brother and my niece. So I decided to type in libertarian. Well, found a libertarian party had some unclaimed property in DC. So Smith Warren, we're trying to see what it is, how much it is. Said shares and dividends. And also went in and looked at the missingmoney.com. It covers most states, but not all states, but does have a map where you click on to get to your own state. Because I couldn't cover California. We go to a map and click on and get to California. I looked at some of the other people in this room, and you guys need to go search that and get some money. Mr. Nana, shows you have some money due to you from GameStop.
can't remember how much money, I never worked there or anything.
I said, could be better, that's the man of the, and also Mr. Nolan, you have some money coming to you too.
Oh, yeah, no, it's $37 I have to drive to Frankfurt.
No, there are several in there for you, one of them's a bank that's at over 100.
One's probably my father. So,
Oh, same name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't name your kids after yourself. It's bad for me. For the record.
Can't remember if I lived down.
Well, in the past, I had like $50,000, it was, unclaimed,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's something for me, but, chat.
Yeah. So, oh, this is that key. Yeah, it says something about shares.
Yeah.
So any questions on the treasurer's report?
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. Ms. Harlan.
All right. This is Nancy. Just pull it up here so I can remember. Oh, okay, it's over there. Hold on a second. Hey, thank you, everyone, and I wanted to say that I truly appreciated our chair's opening remarks, and I actually think that we have the possibility of being one of the best LNCs ever, at least that's my hope. As one of the returning members, I certainly know my past faults, and I do hope not to repeat them. We all sometimes got a little bit too heated, and I think anyone who is returning needs to own that. I do share the chair's goals, and it's completely on board with that. And again, very, very excited about everything that we have coming forward with us. But I wanted to add something similar to what the chair said about where people will draw inspiration from us. Each of us have some kind of a story. And I was very touched by what he said about the young closeted people that had come to speak with him. I can tell you that when I go to conventions, I have mothers, and I don't get upset, I have mothers who come to me just crying, saying that they see a future for their autistic child, because I've been very open about my autism. And I have these young girls that now come to conventions that have been like my fans for a couple of years, and each year they come and want a picture with me, because they're interested in politics. And they don't see that much representation. And not that there isn't female representation. Honestly, they think most of the female representation is boring, and I have pink hair. So they find these little girls who are just completely jazzed up about this. But no matter who you are in your room, there's somebody out there you're inspiring. You never forget that, even if you don't get to meet them. I've been blessed that I have been able to meet them. So on that, to go over to the report, since I normally don't go over a lot of things in my report, but because it's a new term, I would like to. Let's see here. The thing that's standard in the secretary's report is you'll see status of minutes, status of email ballots, and that sort of thing. But you'll also see projects that I have been working on. Beginning with the last term, I had really felt that the secretary's role had been underutilized, and just judging from my experience in working in law offices and being a legal secretary and an executive secretary, like there was a lot more that we needed to do here. And I've just been, without waiting for policy manual changes, taken on those things myself. So I highly encourage you to read the report. There's a lot going on in the background that I do take care of. Such as now I take care of updating certain critical areas on the website, and have taken that not away from them, I mean, relieve the burden from staff so that they don't have to spend time doing things like that I actually think should be a secretarial role. Some other things that I had been doing, we are required to keep an archive of all of the party bylaws. Instead of having that secreted away on my hard drive and for my successor to have to get that from me, I put it all up on LPDF so that anyone who is researching, like candidates who want to see what delegate requirements are for each state, because they're starting to build their delegate with teams. It's all will be in one spot. And I think we all need to strive to make our information much more accessible to members rather than just accessible to us. And to that end, I will be creating a internal document storage structure with Mr. Fishman. Somebody you might remember from 4 years ago when I started, I had ranted and raved that our document hygiene and handling process just horrified me as someone who comes from a legal background, and that's going to be vastly improved this term with Google Suite. And let me just see here if there's anything else I really wanted to draw a highlight to. One thing that's exciting, I had met with Andy Burns a couple days ago, and as many of you may be aware, there's a state chairs list where the state chairs get together and powwow with each other. We just created a national secretaries list so that we can all talk and perhaps train new secretaries. Sometimes don't know really what should go in the minutes or what their responsibilities are. We can make the 50 states actually feel more like family if we start collaborating with those who share our roles. So I'll be starting that probably next week. I'll be getting that going. And I think that's really all I wanted to highlight, but I do have a motion. As per the bylaws, I had submitted the draft minutes for the first sitting of the convention and, solicited input and then posted it to the party website at least 14 days prior to this meeting, where I would be asking for the draft minutes of the first sitting to be approved. So that is my motion, to approve the draft minutes version 6 for the first sitting of the 2020 National Convention.
First second,
It's the first sitting.
you want to do it now or when you end the report?
And this will be the end. Well, I'd like to do that in any questions, so yeah.
Secretary moves to adopt the submitted minutes of the first sitting of the National Convention. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Nana. Is there any objection? Without objection.
And before questions, the second sitting just got distributed on the 10th, which was the deadline for it. Please go through and read them. And there's also, as Ms. Matson started the tradition of, I do have on the end there, like a post-convention audit of issues that I had seen. And there might be some very interesting information in there for you. My post-convention audit of at least the LNC races revealed no errors to speak of. There was only one ballot that was off by a couple votes. So we can have complete confidence in those ballots. So that was very encouraging. But there were some other concerns that I had noted in there that I do hope that we take to heart. And I'd entertain any questions.
Questions to the Secretary?
Oh, sorry, did I do that?
Going once? Going twice? All right.
Thank you, it's my honor to serve you for another term.
I'm told Mr. Redpath's not yet ready, so if there's no objection, we'll go to the CRM presentation next.
Oh, that is it 24 or 18 months? Sorry, I'm only going to put it back.
I can, is it online? I can put this on.
It is on one. I shared it with you in the, but I also had in this bag an HDMI adapter that may have been pulled out when I pulled all the junk out. Are you logged into you? It's my shirt, you in your drive. Yes.
Mr. Hayden, it's $10.
So it's also,
One for $5 and one for $5. I have no idea. I did look up my father, who has a substantially large running out of money, so I'm gonna have to get hold of my.
Right. Oh, yeah. And then I think it's what, a lot of the state and county parties also.
Oh, yeah, I need to look at the state board.
So I sent emails to them. Let me know. I'll never be able to find myself. I tried looking at this. I mean, yeah, I went to get my bank account number. And it was 170 with the same person who did last year's account. But you see, it has an address too, so you could maybe you could find it on it. Very, like, very important thing. Wow. Yeah, so it's like very first thing. Just the most common thing.
I mean, I could play the audio if I wanted to.
We pretty like that. What they call this? Unclaimed property. Oh, the website, I'm missing one. Yeah, that's like that.
Usually your state has a similar site that you want to pay for. That way you get a letter in the mail from your property and hope that they want to sponsor your project. It's okay.
What about the Nigerian?
That we've got the force.
You guys hear that?
And to leverage that data to empower both national and our affiliates to grow the overall party. The CRM is a customer relationship management system. There are various types of CRMs, which are focused on different aspects of data and relationships. For instance, Razor's Edge, which is used by LP National, is focused on fundraising. eCanvasser is geared more towards campaigns, which are short-term, relatively speaking. By contrast to those, the state CRM project is meant to be a long-term data retention tool so that our states and our national parties leverage that data over the long term. So let's talk about the 4 C's, starting with collecting data. We have data in various buckets and islands at different levels of the party. We have lots of data in various states of disrepair and not linked together in any way. Are you aware that in 2016, the National Party bought Aristotle data from every registered libertarian in the country? I can tell you the state parties didn't know that. We could have used that data. The next C is cleaning data. We have conflicting data for various contexts. The data is in various formats: Google Sheets, Excel spreadsheets, some service like Nation Voter, Razor's Edge, various people's heads. What happened? This occurs because the data is being kept by different people with different levels of vigilance, different methodologies, and different understandings of the importance of that data. We want to standardize the formatting of our data in order to better retain it. The next C is consolidating data. To avoid recreating the multiple buckets of incomplete data, we need a single point where all the data is aggregated into the latest and best known versions. As any person works on the data, they improve the data for future usage. Today, national and affiliates have no real idea what the other is doing regarding contacted constituents. So we can't track if we're over-communicating. Because don't forget, to the end constituent, they don't know the difference between national, state, or county party. The final C is conserving data. So much data has been lost over the years due to technical errors, turnover in state affiliates, campaigns ending without saving the data anywhere, and even intentional sabotage. We must not lose data. More than ever before, knowledge is power. To quote Schoolhouse Rock, we must stop using data. Our state affiliates often do not have the financial resources that national does, but they're also on the ground and have the best chances of organically growing the party at the county level. County affiliates then can focus on building an army of volunteers for door knocking, phone banking, and other get-out-the-vote activities. So let's take a moment to go back and understand how we got here. The IT committee from the 2016 to 2018 LNC term accomplished several great things. The most critical among them was that we fixed LP.org, which had been crashing regularly after the changes by the previous IT committee of 14 to 16. And we saved money while we were at it to the tune of approximately $1,750 per month. We were also able to save the content for the previous iteration of the website, which was content from 2008 to 2016, and bring it over to the new one. Another accomplishment, we updated and consolidated email services, the savings totaling approximately $350 per month. That brought the total savings to approximately $2,100 per month, or $25,000 per year, while also having more modernized infrastructure. We also facilitated the repair and rebirth of Alopecia. We found a hosting provider, provided space for the spam cleanup, and then turned that all over to the Historic Preservation Committee. As we completed those tasks around mid-2017, we asked Andy Burns, affiliate support specialist, to join our IT committee calls to give input on where the IT committee could help affiliate support improve IT for all affiliates. And he noted that states were struggling handling data and were mostly left to fend for themselves. National data dumps, state membership lists, and voter registration data were all being inadequately used. Additionally, the National Party had purchased Aristotle data in 2016, but there was no place for states to leverage this data. And there were issues with websites being mismanaged or just being ineffective. And he noted that he had helped a handful of states implement both City CRM and Nation. He explained that affiliates who were using City CRM would usually have difficulty, mostly due to turnover in the IT of a state, and would call back a couple of years later with their CRM in a state of complete disrepair, requiring significant intervention, and sometimes with a complete data loss having already occurred. The affiliates using Nation Builder were spending hundreds of dollars per month, reducing their overall ability to spend funds on outreach and growth. And often, the data would again go stale, or worse, get corrupted or deleted, as no one would maintain Nation Builder at the state level due to IT turnover. And so, finding a platform for state affiliates became the new focus of the IT committee. We created criteria and investigated solutions. The criteria were that the solution had to be scalable, affordable for any affiliate, appropriate data shared to the appropriate levels, able to be made better by those using the data, a balance of flexibility and data security, not expensive if an affiliate was just parking data, integrate tightly with the CMS front end, their website, an ability to get volunteers into the system quickly when an affiliate decides to get active. We investigated options. Based on the criteria, the IT committee believed that only a handful of potential options were available. Examining commercial products, they did not make the cut due to the cost or a lack of data segmentation, leaving only open source options. After a few trial installs of various open source CRM products, it was determined that City CRM, which began development in 2004 as a CRM for politics, was the correct choice. During this time, we also investigated the legality of the project. Current FEC regulations allow for state affiliates, regardless of their FEC status, to receive services from an FEC filing national party, provided those services fall under the category of party building. Now armed with all of this information, we lobbied the LNC for initial funds to create a pilot project. A $5,000 expenditure was approved to pilot the program at the LNC meeting in Kansas City in August of 2017. The pilot showed initial success and great promise. We built a multi-year plan and went back to the LNC to lobby for $45,000 for custom development to enable volunteers at any level of the party to quickly get into the system and make phone calls to organize locally. This development was dubbed the Simplified City CRM User Dashboard and was critical for the goal of getting volunteers into the system and able to make phone calls quickly without hours of training. The LNC approved this expenditure at the LNC meeting immediately preceding the 2018 National Convention. The full $45,000 was raised specifically for the development project. The funds raised were unfortunately borrowed to pay off the 2018 National Convention, which unfortunately had its funds borrowed for other projects. Development of the Simplified City CRM User Dashboard stalled as money became tight. While we were waiting for the funding, we worked on the 4 C's for various state partners, importing their data and merging in Secretary of State and Razor's Edge data. In early to mid-2019, fundraising picked up for the National Party, and the borrowed funds raised for the project were replaced and development resumed. In November 2019, the Simplified City CRM User Dashboard went live. We began getting access to region and county level leadership. In late 2019 and early 2020, the states that were onboarded the earliest, with the IT directors that were the most involved, began to leverage the call next functionality, which was enabled by the dashboard, to contact other libertarians. In spring of 2020, we transitioned our convention credential system to the CRM. This replaced a home-made system that had been in use since 2008 and allowed states to retain this information for the records at the Credentials Committee to log in a credential. We also managed LNC2020.com to process convention packages, though refunded packages and direct transactions were not properly tracked in the state CRM project and will need to be revisited in the future. In mid-2020, we integrated with the Joe campaign. Currently, media contact data has been merged into the state CRM system for all states to use, and we are prepared to absorb the campaign data once that campaign is ready to send that to the National Party. In July 2020, we moved all non-donation sign-up forms for the National Party over to the CRM, meaning that data reaches the states and counties immediately, and is also sent to Razor's Edge and imported into Razor's Edge in the normal process flow. Also in July of 2020, we recreated existing donation forms for the National Party of the state CRM. However, these forms are not live yet. Further discussion is necessary on the process flow, efficiency, and data merge issues when not everything is running through a single system. In August 2020, we started on the first phase of integrating constituent issues when new people sign up, so we can leverage micro-targeting in the future. And as noted previously, we are prepared to receive the data from the Jorgensen campaign in mid to late 2020. Today, there are 23 states in the project, with over 20 more in the queue. So let's talk about some of the current hurdles. Some delays and diversions have occurred, deviating from the original project. As a result, onboarding states has slowed significantly, and affiliates are really struggling trying to accomplish the ETL, extract, transform, and load process for data conversion on their own. A number of states have been in line to get on board for quite some time, and we need to catch up and continue the progress of onboarding states. Currently, the system is not tied to any phone banking system, requiring people to make calls from their own phone. Generally, people are encouraged to obtain a Google Voice phone number and use that for making calls. But that also means that the caller ID is not state or county party-based calls, but individuals. The NDA that the previous LNC passed has a flaw that needs to be corrected, and the LNC made it so that only the LNC can draft that NDA. There is suggested language for the modification of that NDA at the end of this presentation. Without letting the current hurdles, it's also important to remember that the state CRM project is a work in progress. It can always be improved, and we will continually strive to make it better. As we bring new states and new features online, we learn new ways to do things better, incorporating that learned knowledge into the system. Today, the 23 states in the system are able to take advantage of the following features. Each state site is integrated with the CRM, allowing for display of data segments on their website. For example, candidates, elected officials, and local affiliates. And front-end forms are automated to eliminate manual data entry. We have integrated user management, allowing for one login, or SSO, to control appropriate levels of the website content and data access in the CRM. Any volunteer who has signed the NDA can be given access. Affiliates can control their own information and for their sub-affiliates and candidates. Regional and county affiliate leaders can add content to websites, including events and blogs. Contacts are automatically permissioned to the appropriate party level, whether that's the state, region, or county, based upon their address. Addresses are normalized to USPS standards and communicate with Google to fill in missing address information such as counties, zip codes, etc. Normalization of data occurs, including name, email, phone, and address. We have integrated contributions with the website using Stripe, Authorize.net, or PayPal. This permits a seamless experience for the donor, increasing confidence and completion. Contribution pages are now also available to multiple levels of the party, not just the state party, but to state, regions, and county affiliates as well, who can now all leverage the CRM. We have membership management based on the criteria set by a state on what constitutes a member of their party. Membership reports can quickly show who's a member and who's not. We have volunteer management. We can now track who signed up, whether or not they showed up, so we can learn who is a reliable volunteer. We have event management, which lets people sign up for events and get reminders of those upcoming events. We track who is attending which events to get an idea of who has been to what training or who is interested in a particular topic. We have the ability to manage email blasts to any segment of the database. This is enabled through SparkPost, which is functionality paid for by each state party. We have media data integrated from the Joe campaign so that states can manage media contacts. This can also be tied into SparkPost to enable sending press releases to appropriate outlets. We have convention credentialing support, so various parties can track who is a delegate to their conventions over time. We have the ability to do text banking by tying into affiliate-funded Twilio accounts. We have begun phase 1 of issue segmentation, which tracks what issues are most important to our constituents. Contacts can be segmented based on their important issues. We continue to have an IT directors group that meets monthly, and we've started an IT mentor program to help states stay up to date on the latest developments, collaborate with other states, and enhance their state's use of the CRM. We've also created a CRM users group where users can collaborate with other users and begin to learn how to better use the system. But you don't have to just take our word for it. Christy Kendrick, the Kentucky membership director, notes that the Kentucky Party is now able to focus their energies on outreach and growing the base, and she would encourage other state affiliates to take advantage of the system. Brian Shields, the state chair of New Hampshire, says that the project is worth whatever investment is made into it tenfold. Laura Lane, chair of Alabama, says that it is a fantastic tool that keeps getting better. And Jerry, the state chair of Nebraska, says that their state website is better than ever. They've been focusing on starting new affiliates this year, and so the CRM has helped speed that up. And they've been using it to inform libertarians about their new affiliates and those meetings. So where does the project go from here? We predict that 40 to 48 affiliates will eventually use the system, knowing that there are always a few that insist on doing it their way. And that's fine, it's all voluntary. Our project plan still contains a potential move to incorporate and replace Razor's Edge. On a related note, the IS Committee of 2018-2020 voted to recommend replacing Razor's Edge with the state CRM project, with the migration to begin after the 2020 election. For the remainder of 2020 and through 2021, we plan to use Jim Olin's time to help states prepare their data, the ETL process, to get the onboarding process back on track. We have found that affiliates are struggling with the ETL process, and Ken will be helping with this. In late 2020, we will be rolling out phase 2 of our issues and behaviors segmentation. Micro-targeting will enable us to focus messaging appropriately. This is a priority, and storing this information for the long term is something we have never previously done. In 2021, we can look at phase 3, which is attempting to integrate directly with L2 data via an API. If National joins the CRM for member processing, we will be able to improve national member retention by automating the sequence of touches, including phone calls, surveys, upgrades, and membership renewal reminders. Also in 2021, we would like to more broadly roll out the SMS blasts. This functionality works for national and states, but currently has limitations. This will help us extend to connecting to phone banking service as well, and work towards enabling calls to be made directly from the CRM using the state party's caller ID. Thank you for your time today.
There was a reason I asked for 30 minutes. I apologize, I know it's a little bit planned, but I want to make sure everybody knew where the project started, what we've accomplished so far, why we aren't a little further. We've had a number of delays, but we're still making good headway. And so that was kind of the goal, was to make sure everybody understood why we were doing the project, where we were going, where we've been, and I or Andy are available to answer any questions.
Yeah. So, I always, Eric Ross, member at large. I always want to know how we make something, bring in a little extra money for the party as well. Is there any possibility or plans in the future to create independent shells within that maybe our caucuses or special interest groups can actually buy into the program and use the tools that our states are currently using?
I see what you're saying. Oh, hey, 2 microphones. What a crazy idea. It does work. So I don't know that right now that's necessarily the focus of the project. I think this was mostly focused towards states and the national, and then the counties, and some states had the between states and counties. Getting them all on the same page, being able to refine and continue to use that data. I haven't really thought about it for caucus purposes, but I guess it's technically possible. It would require a lot of conversation about what are the limits of the use of that data. I think that would be, it's not a technical issue, it would be a process issue.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, it would be independent shell. So they wouldn't have the access of the data, but they would be able to use the systems and tools that you put in while populating their own data set.
Yeah, but actually, so it's really modular, so you could end up it's, you're like creating a new site, like we did the convention site. It's basically acting like another state site. The state sites are the minimum use case of the system, but yeah, we can totally plug in the caucus, and it is a political decision first. But, yeah, you can definitely plug it in, and then anyone that interacts with your caucus, that basically becomes accessible to you. So yeah, you can start with, you know, we can import their existing caucus members, right, that are already expanding the system, but we can merge that in, and then you start from there, and then it's just, you can add to it. I mean, it's totally possible. It's just gonna act just like states, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's very shell-like, it's weak information, very granular. Go ahead, Eric.
Of course.
So I appreciate the presentation. It's always good to remember where we're coming from, what we're working on. I'm glad to see that you're focusing in on this. Okay. My question would be is as far as this body is concerned right now, it's good for us to know what's going on and I want us to be involved. Is there an ask from this body right now as far as funding or anything like that that you guys feel we need in order to get this project back on track and moving forward?
Well, I don't think I have the financial, I just looked at the affiliate line item where the CRM is under, and we're I think 13,000 under budget. So we don't really have an ask right now. I think we have enough money in the budget to move on. Right. So I think the main thing would be keep the budget on. Right. And so right now we're under budget. That's because we've been able to handle any issues that have come up. There are times when we hit a hiccup where we are stuck and we need to go ask an outside company to help us. It's not that expensive, right? It's not the $45,000 we put in a couple years ago, but it's, you know, $1,000 here and there to fix an issue. So I think the only real ask beyond just making sure everybody knows what's going on is to keep the budget line basically the same and keep moving forward. We're making progress now that we're finally unlocked.
Do you feel that there's a need for us to try and find volunteers to assist, or do you guys call those volunteers from people that are already signed up?
Well, first thing is that the main thing of how we've been successful, we got a lot of states on first, is we want to stick to the original project mission, which we did get derailed because national saw, oh, we can use this. You know, everyone sees a piece of like, I can use it, and you know, it's very logical. Let's get all the states on first. That won't be enough. And so that's my goal. And with convention process, we have all the states built. Like they're all built. Now they're really close to going live. It's just getting their data to us and then doing some website tweaks to be ready. So it's really just, I say, leave me alone and let's get the job done. But just not have other diversions, distractions. We need to get all the states on first and then, you know, and go from there. I just, everyone, I think we've had some side projects that weren't really in line with, you know, the original project plan and how it was built. I mean, the member portal, I think we wanted to do it one way, but it should be done after the states were on. So.
I hate to have like just one more question. So I know part of the issue with this project in the past has been your time, specifically your time on the Sandy is being pulled in a bunch of different directions. Do you feel that there is adequate support to let you focus on this project the way you need to, or is there an asking there?
I think when we created the IT directors group, and there are some really expert people out there that we can, these are people that could step into my job and get trained up and probably do it all right. So we have like 3 or 4 of these IT directors. We have a working group. So our goal is we created basically this group where we connect the users and the people administrating, and I want people to go to that first. So it's just making sure people are going to Kentucky first, David in Colorado, John in Pennsylvania, these people. So it takes it up to me. It's just making sure people go the right process for them. And building a volunteer group. I think it would be nice to maybe have one part-time contractor maybe doing the front end help desk level 1 support. So I can really, I'm always trying to do the big things, like what's the next big leap with project, or getting Kansas on this next week. I'll get them on this week because they're getting what I want, which is kind of an anomaly to kind of stick to kind of everything that I need, but because usually I just need to go into the site and just do everything, but it's not enough. So I think that's it.
If I got an IT person that might be very helpful.
If I could add to that, issued an executive order suspending 2 other
lower priority and kind of frankly still need to be better defined IT projects to prioritize clearing the CRM queue and getting the wait list states on board. And Andy and I had a good conversation last week. And I kind of made clear, look, I know people are going to keep sending stuff to you. Use me to help clear that stuff off your deck so we can get this queue sorted out.
Well, I appreciate this updates, guys. Please keep us informed on this by email or at these meetings. This project is huge, and I do not feel that last term in my meeting this was put on today for reasons that have been outlined, right? But I think that we have a real opportunity here, partner with the Drains campaign, to really take this to the next level, so that by the time we get to 24, we can really start to fill out local elections, and by the time 26, or by the time 24 comes around for the next presidential, we have this already in place for everyone. So thank you for the refocus. Please keep us informed, even if it's by email. This is a top priority for me personally. So keep it here. Can you look at that?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron Adams, Region 7 alternate. As you know, many of our Region 7 states use this CRM currently. Texas is exploring using it. The problem that we're having is our states that are using it are ready to fail. Texas is on the fence because there have been just so many problems for us in our region with the CRM, with getting backburnered, with being pushed behind the membership world, with not having access to enough support, especially for people who aren't IT professionals who are trying to help us. And my states feel like they've been backburnered because other states have been willing to pay more to get IT. So help me help convince them to stay on CRM, because right now they're waiting to fail. I need to know what to tell them.
All right. So I think the main thing was, and this is all part of that, right? Making sure that this LNC understands what we were trying to do with this project. As noted in the presentation, we've had some diversions, definitely, membership stuff, and things that are good projects. I mean, make no mistake, they are really good projects, and we will get there for sure. I do feel like there's been some level of disconnect between some of the states and some of being able to handle, some of it's a load issue, right? Where we have Andy, here's Andy, he's like the guy who runs the CRM. And so Andy is a human being that has to sleep and eat and has a wife and crazy things like that. And so unfortunately, we hit a cap. Part of this is with me getting back involved and trying to shed all the other things that I got wrapped up in. We're doubling capacity, right? So that's going to help. As Andy noted, it would be really nice if we found some way to leverage a front end. And we're trying to do some of that with IT directors, volunteer groups. We have IT directors and IT, the CRM volunteer group, usually. Yeah,
They always talk about that. No, that's how we start.
the main thing is a lot of times, so we try to just, we give these services and this opportunity. It's a tool of the CRM, or a tool never drives itself. You have to have a human that ends up doing something with it. And so the IT director is a woman that's maybe
The IT director is an IT professional.
Yep, so we provide monthly support sessions, and literally like on Thursday, I was on like with forward. I was like, someone asked me a question, I said, let's just pop on a screen share, and I, got all their questions answered. So really, the state IT director is the fail point, and that's kind of where sometimes there's miscommunication on if they're not proactively really asking me enough questions, or if they're saying, if they're trying to use it and they just give up, but they don't really come to our support session and get
I would love to respect our state IT director in Oklahoma has not only reached out, he's reached out to you, he's reached out to Ken, he has been asking, and a lot of times the answers that he gets are flippant, not answers.
Oh, no,
I mean, we're going to watch this, I think this is how we're looking.
and just
Cross questions, answers, and, I think that's fair game because it's a question of how systemic is the issue that she's raising. On the specific question of like, how do we resolve that issue? I suggest you guys talk with each other again. And also, we're out of time on this agenda.
Oh, very
So if you have more to say, and if you still have questions, so the chair will entertain a motion to extend time if someone wants to make it. Someone make it, it'd be nice.
Motion to extend for 5 minutes.
Motion to extend for 5 minutes by Mr. Nana. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Harlos. Is there any objection? Stand by 5 minutes.
And real quick, Aaron, and I'm not throwing Jay under the bus, but I did talk to Jay and he knows me input right now. So it's on him. It's not, I mean, look, it's back and forth, it's collaborative. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here. We will do our best to work with the states to help them succeed.
I do respond, I responded to Jay, I have the history, we have a ticket system where I respond, and I know it's an urgent issue, and I have responded, and I'll get it back. All right, yeah, I responded to Jay each time, I just, maybe he doesn't, is missing, or not asking the question.
Yes, so Ohio actually did fail really early on. Yeah, no, I guess this is less of a question, more of a statement. I don't think it's any one person's problem. I think it's more the system. To have, I always thought this, to have the one contact point be IT director and then another only one contact point at national is where the fail keeps happening. It's either, and I'm not blaming anybody, it's either the IT director misses his emails, doesn't respond, or you miss an email, don't respond, or you do respond and they miss the response. If there's only one point of communication and that communication doesn't happen, then that kills it all right there. And I think that's a lot of what happened in Ohio. I don't know why, but it seems to be happening more than just.
If I remember, the issue in Ohio eventually came down to objection under the NDA language. They didn't like provision 3 of the NDA, and that was like the break point of, I mean, there may have been other factors, but I remember very clearly the whole, we don't like how 1.3 on the NDA is worded. So, and I do have simple language, I'm supposed to provide that at the end. It's whatever, we can talk about that offline of the list. Long story short is, we cannot have 50 people from each state hitting Andy. Like, that's 2,500 people that would be bothering Andy on a daily basis. That's not real. Like, there can only be a handful of people. And on top of it, and I've been the state chair, and I've been involved in state stuff, but putting it through one person, we also filter out some of the things that somebody has already solved, right? So for instance, a state IT person has the rights to reset the password for any of their members. Now, should a person who's locked out be emailing Andy, every single user, or should they get a their IT director and say, hey man, I'm locked out again? And maybe their IT director, who's local, can take the time to work with that person to say, hey, here's how to not get locked out of your account, right? Well, we can't do that at national. We could literally be thousands of people trying to hit us, and we cannot handle that load. It has to be a hierarchy of some sort. There has to be, and certainly when there's issues that the state IT director doesn't know, we are happy to teach the state IT director so that we don't have to answer that question again. Like, that's the whole point, is to get the information down further and further. States that are moving further along, in Kentucky, for instance, we've got now county leaders that know how to do everything. So they're actually setting up phone calls, they're setting up volunteers, they're doing all the things, and they don't even have to ask the state party. The goal eventually is to empower the counties to do their own thing, for the counties to grow, not have to hit the state, definitely not have to hit national every single time. So that is the goal, is to get it down. There's 3,160. Yeah, I mean, 3,146 counties, 50 states, and everybody talking to us, and we get crushed. That's not real. It has to filter out somehow.
Yeah, we provide, I'm always available, I mean, really make it a priority.